We're talking about orange roughy. Swai fish is the new fish that everybody's raving about, and it's just delicious. It's a real mild, white, flaky fish. You can do tilapia, cod, haddock. So that's the type of fish you're looking for this recipe. Now you notice I've got a foil. I've got just a regular baking sheet here, and I'm going to line it with foil. And that's because I don't want to be dealing with the mess. This kind of has a breaded coating on it, and it can be a little tough to clean. So, you know, if you want to clean it, you don't have to do this. You can skip this step, but we're going to line it because Ann doesn't want to clean it with foil and then spray it with cooking spray. Okay. Now, the breading for this uses something that used to be a little tough to find, and people hadn't heard of it when I first started using it, and now you can find it at any grocery store. I know they have it right at Festival. It's called panko breadcrumbs. What they are is they're a Japanese-style breadcrumb, and they rock. They're really, really delicious. They're very, very light, and you can just, you know, before even baking them, you can just tell how crunchy they are. So they're really going to give a nice crunch and flavor to this fish. They're great on top of casseroles. They're great for breading chicken strips. Anything that you're going to bread, these panko breadcrumbs work really, really well for. They're not expensive at all. So they're panko Japanese-style breadcrumbs. You will be able to find them. If you can't, ask. They've got them there at the store somewhere. So I've got a half of a cup of panko breadcrumbs. This is going to bread about 2 pieces of fish. Depends how big your fish fillets are. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese and a few teaspoons of my go-to seasoning when it comes to seafood. This is something you're going to find in every southern kitchen. It's a tin of Old Bay seafood seasoning. Down in New Orleans, they use this all the time, and it's just basically a generic all-purpose seafood seasoning. Some of the things in it: celery salt, red pepper, black pepper, paprika. So it's just got the great seasoning blend that goes well with seafood. I'm not going to measure. About 3 teaspoons is what we're looking for. So 1, 2, 3. Looks good. And just mix it together. So it was just that easy. Panko breadcrumbs, Parmesan cheese, just the kind that you put on pizza. Doesn't have to be the real fancy stuff. And Old Bay. That's it. Okay, so we've got our fish fillets.
I don't know if I can eat all that.
And I'm going to squeeze, just because I happen to love lemon with fish, some fresh lemon juice. Just right over the fish fillets, just a little bit of that. Now we've got some mayonnaise. This is just, regular mayonnaise, not the salad dressing kind, not the sweetened kind. This is just regular mayo. So I'm going to take a little of that. And don't worry, for people who say, I really am not a big fan of mayo on my sandwich. This does not taste like that at all. Once you get the breading and everything else on there, it basically is, kind of acts like the oil. And you could certainly use the light. So a generous amount of the mayo right on top of the fish fillet. Doing seafood at home is actually really easy these days. It used to be one of those things where I was scared to death to do seafood at home because I'd been burned in the way that it would always taste fishy, just was never like it was at a restaurant. And that's because the seafood that we used to have at the grocery store it just wasn't where it is today. Now, customers have, demanded really good seafood at the grocery store, and grocery stores, a lot of them have stepped up, like Festival. So, the seafood that they're getting is really, really nice, good quality stuff. So when you take it home, seafood is very quick to fix. It's usually a lot cheaper to make seafood at home than it is out at the restaurants. And as I said, I always ask, what do you recommend? What's fresh this week if you want to go for something fresh? But then the frozen seafood, from bags of shrimp to bags of, this happened to be a bag of frozen orange roughy, that you can get year round usually, and just take it out when you want it and defrost it. A lot of the fish are individually wrapped, which is nice, the frozen fish, so you can just, pull out what you need when you want it, and then let it defrost in the refrigerator while you're at work all day. Or you can even run cool water over it if you need to, thaw it out in a real hurry. You forgot to pull it out. So that's another quick tip. Seafood is oftentimes more quick to cook than even chicken breast. So now we're going to take some of this breading mixture and sprinkle it right on top of the mayo. I'm keeping this pretty simple. You could certainly add a little bit of dill, dried or fresh. You could add lemon pepper if you wanted to give it more of a lemon pepper flavor. You could add a little bit of garlic powder or garlic salt. We've got the Parmesan cheese in here, so we don't need too much. Just to make it pretty, you don't have to do this, but you could do a little bit of paprika on top or dried parsley. The other key is, because we're not going to deep fry it, because for me, I love a fish fry and I love deep fried fish, but it's just a real mess, and that's something I prefer to get out of the restaurants. We're going to bake it. You need to crank up that oven temperature and preheat that oven for a good 20 minutes before you even think about putting this fish in. Crank it up. Everybody's oven's different. We did it here about 435. The recipe says about 400, 425. So you know your oven, just crank it hot. You want it really, really hot, and you want to bake this on one of the top racks of the oven so that it gets nice and crispy and nice and brown. So we're going to put this in. Anne's excited about this. Are you excited? This is looking really, really good. Actually, I'm going to give it just a minute or two longer, and I'm going to cut up some lemon just to go with it. This time of year, asparagus is starting to come in. I love, love, love asparagus, so we picked some asparagus up at Festival Foods. This dish is great with just baked potatoes or rice pilaf, and I always love to serve fish with some fresh lemon. I just think that's, lemon and fish just go so well together. Just a natural thing. So, all right. Depending on the size of your fish fillets, they want to, in this case, you just want to get them so they're nice and white and flaky, and the top gets nice and, crusted and yummy. Don't want to over bake it, so this was pretty quick. Took just maybe 10 minutes or so. Serve it with some fresh lemon wedges to go along with it, and there you go. Crispy oven baked fish. Recipes on the website. You can also pick it up at any area Festival Foods.